This is TicTacToe Part 2. Yesterday we created the labels, right? We created an array of labels to place the X's and the O's. And we went through a loop and set a bunch of the properties, set some locations, and then we added them to the board. And that's what we did yesterday. So if you were to run yesterday's code, it would look like this. And it wouldn't do anything, but it would set up your form to look like this. Now, before we start part 2 today, I said yesterday that this context menu strip we don't need, but we actually do. It's been a year since I've done this. And what you need to do is, what we didn't do yesterday, is I need you to click on this context menu strip down here. And you're going to get this, and it's not going to look like this, right? Yours is going to look like, I'll just show you here in a second. Yours is going to look, oh, come on. You're not going to have any text here. You're going to click on this and you're going to go down and it's going to say type here, and you're going to want to put a capital X in here. Matter of fact, let me just delete this and start over. So I'll bring the context menu strip in. It goes down there, and this is what you see. This is what you see, and I need you to type a capital X here. It's important that you type a capital X, and down here a capital O. So we needed the context menu in order to right-click and bring the menu down on the label for that. So what we do is today we're going to actually go in. So go ahead and click context menu 1. You have the X, O, and the O, and you're going to right-click on this X that you just put in there. If you right-click on that, right, or double-click on it, right, it's going to bring you, actually, will bring you to this. It'll bring you to this right here, private sub X tool strip menu. You're actually going to have that there too. So it's going to say this whole line here, and then below that it'll say N sub. Now we're going to add all this code in here for part 2 today. So don't worry if you don't understand all this stuff. It's kind of like a domino effect, and we have to connect context menus to the tool strip menus. So a lot of the stuff you learn just by going online. And so what we're going to do first, we're going to get the label from which the menu strip was called. In other words, when I right click on the label, it's going to send back which label was clicked. And we're going to set X to its text value, right? So we're going to make a variable as this type tool strip menu item, right? And then we're going to make another variable, which is a context menu strip, right? And don't worry about this sender stuff. This is going to be sender, item, owner. This is all has to do with the label that was clicked on. And that's how it knows where it was clicked. And then we're going to make another variable as a label, right? Called square. And it all dominoes. These 3 lines kind of connect to each other. And then the square.text is going to be the sender to the toString. So this is going to get whether they choose an X or an O. And that's going to put this in this label called square. And every time they choose an X or an O, and that X or O gets placed in that label, we have to check a whole bunch of things. First, we have to check to see if we have a winner, right? So we make an I as an integer. And now there's several ways to win. course, as you know, we have across the top, across the middle, across the bottom, and we got the two diagonals. And then we have down the left, down the right, down the middle. So we have to check all these, and all of them are pretty similar, right? So you can kind of cut and paste. So here we're going to check across the top. And if remember, right, let me run this. This is index 0, this is index 1, and this is index 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what we're going to do first is we're going to say if the text, right, for 0, 1, and 2 labels are all X, right, we're going to put that message box out saying X wins. We're going to say button 1.visible is true, which is the play again button. And then we're going to go and we're going to disable all the labels. Just tap loop through and disable every label. Boom. And then we're going to do the same thing down for every possible combination. Right? Across the middle. And everything's the same here except for these indexes. So 3, 4, and 5 are across the middle. That's the middle from left to right. Did I spell across wrong here? Then across the bottom, all the same. You can copy and paste. Just make sure you change these indexes. So across the bottom is 6, 7, 8. Then diagonal left to right, same exact code, cut and paste. Change these indexes 0, 4, 8. Diagonal right to left, same thing, 2, 4, 6. Then we have the downs. Down the left, index 0, 3, 6. Down the middle, 1, 4, 7. And down the right, 2, 5, 8. Right? Another thing we have to constantly check every time they put an X or an O in every label, we got to see if the game is over with no winner. Right? So I created a integer called not over. I'm going to set that to 1. And I'm going to go through. And if there is any label that whose text is still empty, in other words, they didn't put an X or an O in, then not over is going to change to 0. Then once I'm out of that loop, if not over is still 1, right, that means all the X's and O's are filled in. And then that means the game's over, but there's no winner. So message box, put a message box out that says no winner. Button 1.visible, the play again button I make visible. And by the way, when you start this program, make that button invisible. Visible equals false. And I'm going to go through. Same thing. I'm going to disable all the labels so the person can't cheat or play anymore. And that is the end of checking for the X tool strip. So right now, if you want to play, you could actually play the game, but only choose an X. You should be able to put an X in there. And just make sure. Yes, that puts the X in here. That's what we did in the beginning. So it's not complete yet, but that'll be part 3 for tomorrow. And if you also want to double click the button here, remember this button you want to make visible equals false down here. And you can actually double click that button. Double click the button, that'll take you here. And of course, you got to type this part in, application.restart. So you don't have to keep closing the game and restarting it. So that's the end of part 3, or part 2 rather. Part 3 will be tomorrow.